Imagine someone who steps into your silence and listens to every heartbeat. A person who truly loves you never leaves questions unanswered. They offer clarity even when words fail. They never hide your flaws behind silence or avoidance. They hold every piece of your broken puzzle. They never make your tears feel like weaknesses. They cradle them softly and turn them into courage. They never ignore your dreams. They plant seeds of hope in the soil of your mind. They never measure your worth by past mistakes. They give you forgiveness like a fresh morning light. They never compete with your joy. They dance with your laughter and glow in your victories. They never dismiss your fears. They stand guard at night and shield you from shadows. They never rush your healing. They sit beside you patiently as you learn to breathe again. They never treat your kindness as a weakness. They honor it as strength. They never silence your voice. They amplify your truth over thunderous doubt. They never hold you at arm's length. They draw you close with gentle certainty. They never let you walk, grown only in loneliness. They journey by your side through every twist. They never demand perfection. They value your scars as maps of survival. They never trade your heart for convenience. They choose you daily without hesitation. They never turn away from your raw honesty. They embrace your realness with open arms. They never forget the beauty in your silence. They listen for words beneath your quiet. They never judge your moments of doubt. They hold you steady when storms arise. They never let your light dim by their absence. They fan your spark into a steady flame. They never neglect tiny acts of kindness. They send midday texts just to say hi. They never overlook your need for space. They respect your boundaries like cherished vows. They never let fear guide their loyalty. They stay anchored when tides turn wild. They never forget the sound of your laugh. They replay it in their mind at night. They never tell you what you should feel. They hold space for every emotion. They never let you bear all the weight alone. They offer their strength without strings attached. They never yearn for your perfection. They treasure thee no one else sees. They never count the minutes apart. They fill them with hopeful memories. They never leave unclean gaps between words. They close each silence with honest truth. They never treat love as a transaction. They give freely with open hands. They never doubt their choice to stay. They let you see their unwavering eyes. They never swap empathy for empty promises. They feel your pain to heal it. They never let you paint your fears alone. They stand beside you as living proof. They never treat trust like an option. They guard it as a sacred gift. They never let you lose your sense of self. They celebrate the person you are. They never shy away from family ties. They welcome your past into their present. They never deny your right to sadness. They pass tissues and share shoulders. They never make love a leash. They give it a wide sky. They never forget to say please and thank you. They treat you with everyday grace. They never push you to change entirely. They love every version of you. They never let loneliness nest in your chest. They call at midnight just to ask about your day. They never mistake silence for indifference. They ask if your quiet hides a storm. They never leave you drowning in doubt. They inflate your confidence with sincere praise. They never ignore your love language. They speak it every single day. They never take for granted the moments you share. They savor them like rare wine. They never abandon your healing journey. They walk it one step behind you. They never critique your coping methods. They honor the way you survive. They never let you feel invisible. They whisper, I see you. They never let guilt reshadow your love. They dissolve it with patient kindness. They never demand that you forget. They remind you that wounds can heal. They never leave you chasing closure. They offer it willingly when you ask. They never ignore your small joys. They celebrate them with childlike wonder. They never bound your potential. They fuel it with unwavering belief. They never label your pain. They sit with it until it softens. They never hush your curiosity. They explore life alongside you. They never insist on grand gestures. They know the quiet ones matter more. They never break the promise of presence. They show up, often unexpectedly. They never doubt the strength of your bond. They build on it daily. They never let jealousy poison trust. They turn it into open dialogue. They never force your broken parts to fit. They build a space where they belong. They never assume your pain is simple. They unravel it thread by thread. Never let time turn into distance. They call on random days just to say hello. They never deem love as routine. They seek new ways to show they care. They never hide their vulnerability. They trust you with their secrets. They never see love as a burden. They carry it like a lantern. They never surrender to selfish desire. They choose the common good. They never let your hope die quietly. They reignite it with gentle words. They never trade promises for convenience. They keep theirs even when it hurts. They never let silence grow cold. They fill it with warm questions. They never yank love down to size. They stretch it over every horizon. They never make you doubt their devotion. They prove it over and over. They never let fear thrive between you. They name it, then banish it. They never leave you in emotional limbo. They choose a clear path. They never call cheap what you've earned. They honor your hard work. They never let you seek validation elsewhere. They give it a natural home. They never break the rhythm of your heart. They match it with steady care. They never turn away, afraid of your tears. They welcome them like rainfall. They never ask you to shrink. They make more room in their heart. They never let you lose faith in love. They keep believing for both of you. They never trade your story for convenience. They cherish every chapter. They never forget the power of touch. They reach for your hand. In crowds, they never underestimate your capacity to heal. They watch you grow stronger. They never deem respect optional. They infuse it everywhere they go. They never let you stand in darkness. They carry you into the light. They never let doubt overwhelm your hope. They fan the sparks till they blaze. They never count opportunities to leave. They count reasons to stay. They never let words go empty. They fill them with meaning. They never take for granted your presence. They treasure your here and now. They never let fear steal your laughter. They laugh with you, full throat. They never measure love by the seasons. They make it an endless spring. They never watch you walk away. They walk beside you and welcome you back. They never leave us with questions. They become your living answers. They never fail to seek your smile. They chase the curve of your lips. They never forget the weight of a promise. They carry it gently, always. They never let love become a gamble. They secure it with trust. They never let you feel small. They elevate every corner of you. They never surrender to doubt. They choose you even in the dark. They never force a script on you. They co-write your story in every silent moment and every loud confession. A person who truly loves you will never